Hey guys, it's me, Gang Orca. What ifs? Where we last left off? Let's see. Checking. Ugh. Well, Deku essentially, Epsilon came out. Allison's back. She's all good. She's just horrifically scarred, you could say. And anything else? No, not from what I can remember. Anyways, so it takes a bit of time. Everyone's pretty much has been transferred into the dorms after that period of time, with them like, oh crap, a student's been taken. So they pretty much like get all the students inside the dorms. Deku is the only one who really hasn't claimed his dorm yet. And with this whole thing about Allison joining 1A, they're like, yeah, how do we do this? So they they pretty much, Deku says, you don't have a room inside, and if you don't have a room in the 1A's dorm, I'll just, like, sleep on the couch or something. I was like, are you okay with that? Like, he's like, sure, I'll just keep stuff, like, we can just move a dresser into a place where I just switch out my clothes, as everyone's just like, sure. Delta's like, is that wise, Epsilon? Like, speaking inside the head, like, is that wise, Epsilon? It wouldn't make much sense, and we may not get as great as a sleep. He's like, we'll work around it. Plus, if anything goes wrong, you can just, like, use a healing quirk, couldn't you? As, like, verifying. We have not yet had to test it with soreness. And he's like, we'll test it if we get sore then. Is that okay? And he's like, very well. As this was like inside his head, you could say. As Delta, they can like speak to one another. They don't like have to come outside of his head. They can like talk between one another. They just typically don't. Now with Deku there being front and center, everyone asks, what do you represent? As they're speaking to Epsilon, they're like, I represent, he's like, I'm not entirely sure what this one represents. I just call it, this isn't really neutral. I have no clue what this one represents. After I saw Allison, I guess this is just what it looks like. Then they're like, I guess that's just happy? Well, I thought that weird purplish one was happy. This is confusing. Why do you have a different... He's like, you know what? Let's just walk around this situation. Just accept what it is. As when Bakugo heard Allison alive, his brain was turning normally. Then it's like Allison, as he noticed who Allison was on TV, he's like, wait a second, she looks familiar. As then it got a like really close picture, as he's like a spit take. He's like, what the hell? What is this? What's the deal with both of them being almost unkillable? She died in an explosion and was shot by Deku. If Deku's memory was right, he was shot in the throat. What the fuck? He should be dead. She should be dead. I'm somewhat happy she's alive, but what is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. As he's just like, come on. What is the deal with these two surviving almost impossible odds? Jeez. Maybe they're just a pair of freaks and they're made for each other. Jesus. As then, when they continue forward with that, eventually Allison's all cleared. She has like a nice reunion with her parents. As it's like, oh, happy days, ding dong, happy days. As with all that sorted out, she's pretty much transferred to 1A. Now, Monoma tries to be Monoma and tries to make an old big fuss about it at lunchtime. As pretty much Allison, like I said, was studying years above their grade. So, right now, technically, she'd be along the lines of as smart as, like, anyone else in UA. Or, like, the top, like, a high-ranking student in Class 1A. Sort of scenario. So, I'd say she if she was in there originally, I'd say she'd place in the top 10 smartest kids. I believe Momo is the smartest. Minetta's like 3rd or 5th place. And I think Deku is like 8th place, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not entirely. But as we continue forward with this, I think Bakugo was actually like 4th. Bakugo was like 4th or 3rd. But anyways, as I continue, as everyone is introduced into Allison, everyone's like, wasn't she the chick that was trying to kill you earlier? Like that day they were introduced. Like after class was getting started, Aizawa brought her in like after the conversation with everyone, and all of them questioning what's this guy supposed to represent. As they're introduced, and as we got a new transfer student, class 1A, as they're like, wait, what? I thought only 20 kids could be in this class at the same time. As with Aizawa saying, typically, yes. But due to some, as he looks over to Deku, special circumstances, we're going over the limit this year. But note, if I get the chance to expel one of you, I will do it. 20 kids is trouble enough, but 21? God. As then he continues on with his talking, like so. With this, as he starts, like I said, talking, he goes on to tell that, well, if all you moved into the dorms and such, as eventually we skip to a lunchtime, my personal thing that I made up. The thing with Stain never really happened, I'd say. Well, I guess what happened with Stain is along the lines of Omega telling Monoma to shut the hell up. He's like, stop being such an egotistic maniac, you blonde-headed freak whose eyes go all weird and you have some sort of inferiority complex similar to Bakugo over there in his dark menacing voice, as Omega usually does. As Monoma's like, what? How dare... As it just... Omega's like, try me, kid. Try me, Blondie. I already deal with one of you already. I can take care of another. As then, when Monoma tries to talk shit about Allison, Deku's about to get up, but then Allison's like, you know, you remind me of somebody, as she puts a hand on his shoulder, and I don't really like a lot of them. As then she starts like rounding up, as then she throws him like across the thing, as it's like, ah, as Deku's like, as Epsilon's like, nice, as they like high five. She's like, thank you, sweetheart. As he's like, no problem, dear. As they're like, wait, dear, sweetheart, what? As everyone's like, what? As then Carolina's like, so wait. Even Carolina points it out. Like, dear, sweetheart? What is that supposed to be? As then Allison's like, oh, he never told you. What? She's like, you think just because I was dead you were off the chain? As Epsilon's like, no, never. As then he's like, oh yeah, me and him are dating technically. As like, what? Carolina's like, wait, what? Araga's what? Everyone around the table is what? Minetta's like, wait, what? With his whole attitude, as everyone's like, you're dating her. Yes. And you're dating him. Yes. That is what it means. What is up with y'all? Not to be rude or anything, but as Minetta's like, how did he end up with someone like you? As then people just like bang on his head. How did you two even meet? Well, as they explain the story, and they mention how Bakugo's an ass, and they're like, fuck you. As then Bakugo's like, shut the hell up. Being all Bakugo. As in Bakugo doesn't have that whole breakdown as he would, but he still has a lot of things going up in here. It's just like, what? A bunch of things questioning happening up in there. As then we continue. Now we're at some of the other periods. She will not be taking the licensing exam, that whole thing. As explained by Aizawa saying you'll not participate. And so like, as she's like questioning why. Scratch that. She doesn't question why. Deku doesn't really, but everyone else like, why isn't she allowed to join it? As Aizawa was like, it's cause she literally just showed up. We can't really just let her take it out of nowhere. We're thinking about holding it back for her to go to another time once she has trained a bit. We've seen what she's done during the practical exam. That's another part of that week. She did very well. She pretty much got the same exact score as Carolina. As Tex looks over to Carolina, and she was between Carolina and, well, actually she was between Carolina and Tex. As Tex is like, well, Allison's like, wait, what? How much did he do? It's like over 150 points. 150 points, I believe, is how many I gave him. As everyone's like, oh, I didn't even know his exact number. As Epsilon's like, yeah, it's no big deal. Just like helped several people, even saved Carolina at one point. You didn't save me, you helped me. It's like, yeah, whatever. Then, as they're like all ready to go, they got all their armor as well. When Deku, as they run into Miss Joke and such, that one guy puts up the facade, as then Gamma's like, he is lying to us. As like, how can you tell? He's like, I am the embodiment of deceit. Of course I would know what one lying sounds like, even with a smile on their face. As Omega's like, we don't like liars. As then he refuses to shake their hand, and he's like, oh well. Having that whole thing. Oh wait, I forgot she replaced Mineta in this. Sorry about that little lapse. Swear to God, if any of you point in the comments, I'm gonna laugh. Sorry about that. I forgot Mineta wasn't even here. So switch Mineta with Kaminari. There you go. That solves that. As then with all that happening, well, if I remember correctly, they deal with the ball scenario. Yeah, they deal with the ball scenario. Then they move on to the like extracting people. Then after that, they also have to fight with the Gang Orca and such. So Deku and them have their upgrades. They put one on their chest, one like around their bottom left, their, like, I'll say around the leg, like on the side of their leg, and one right on the back, like behind the heart. Yeah. So pretty spread out all around. I think that's a good distribution of their thing. As then with Deku, or well, Epsilon, all of them, as they're all talking around, they tested what they could do. And now with Epsilon here, since he has access to all the abilities, he can either reinforce one and help one, or they could activate two abilities at the same time. When they reinforce one, they extend the period of time that they can go be like pushed to the very limit. They can either extend the time that they push to the very limit, or they could activate two at the same time. Now, this won't like dull anything, so they could activate super strength and speed, or they could activate bubble shield along with regeneration, that sort of stuff. That's Epsilon's ability. He's an all-rounder. As then with that in place, they tested out some of the configurations. They tested out super speed and regeneration, as well as strength, healing, and then the shielding and camouflage. With camouflage, like if they increase, like if Epsilon and Gamma work on it together, they can pretty much move around like naturally, like running, instead of just having to like be very slow in how they move. With Epsilon assisting Gamma in stealth, or in the invisibility, they're able to go. And they go invisible completely, so that means, like, everything on them goes invisible. That's how I sort of have it. It's like a force field around them. As when everyone's like, alright, let's do this. Deku, what's your... As then immediately he just disappears, taking out the brute shot and wandering by himself. As Delta says, I recommend you all stay together. With all your abilities united, but I would recommend several pairing off into smaller groups. Todoroki, you would... As he points out to Todoroki, may actually could just go on by himself, but he should take care to, like, hide. And as Delta finishes that sentence, and be warned, everyone knows our quirks. We know no one else's. As in, with that final word, Delta just leaves as he's walked off. Everyone's rushing UA. With everyone running to get cover, Carolina actually takes point in commanding everyone. As Theta says, was that a good idea to leave them by themselves? As Delta says, yes. As heroes, they should be able to participate and to handle themselves. We cannot help them through every hurdle. We haven't really been helping them, though, have we? As Sigma comes out saying, we may not help them every time. But they still must become ingenuitive on their own. As in, Omega's like, it doesn't matter to me. I hate that when they rely on us too much. You hate... Wait, how do you hate that? Deku didn't hate that. No one ever relied on us. My point. It's annoying. As in, Gamma's like, it is not annoying sometimes. And then, as they, like, wander off, everyone's like, everyone, even, like, Aizawan's like, they have, like, pictures on all their students, like, sort of like a screen, you could say. But they're like, as Miss Joke's like, hey, I don't see that, what was his name? Zeta? Greta? Meta. Yeah, where's that Meta kid? As he's, like, doing what he does best. As in, like, a group of students that have another group of, 1A students pinned down in UA. UA 1A students pinned down. He's, like, sneaking up behind them, loads up a brute shot and just a non-lethal, and just goes, as in he's like, ugh. As they're, like, stuck, they're like, what the fuck? As they're, like, shaking, trying to figure out what to do, he just walks up with a ball and goes, beep, 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 getting 3 points. I believe they just need to score 3 points, if I remember correctly. As in, the other ones in UA are like, 1A come, like, running over, like, that did great. As then he sees our Orca, and what happens as it's like, we must assist her. As Data's like, yeah, we should. As then they rush over, like, taking Epsilon off, taking Gamma off and then switching to Sigma for that boost of speed as they rush over and help her. As then they're looking over, it's like, are you okay? As it's like, I'm fine. As then, before it's able to push the buttons, it, like, grabs their arm, like, what are you doing? As then it's like, oh, knew it wasn't her. As Delta says, approximately, I suggested that wasn't her. Orca would never allow herself to be encumbered like that. She has grown greatly in the past few months. I believe it's been a few months, or at least a few weeks. Or at least a month. But with that being said, several months, I believe. With that being said and such, what's happening now is that, what was it? Anyways, with that being said, to continue forward with this, everyone pretty much does very similar to how they do in the original, with Carolina speeding around and taking points. And she takes people down. Since this is a private affair, I don't believe anyone else gets to see how this is done. As Miss Joke is like, man, your kids are dominating. As in, I believe they also developed special skills, but in that time they were also developing special techniques, as that's also when they displayed the ability for multiple quirk usage at the same time now. As then he said, as everyone's like, wait, when were you able to do that? As it's like, as they just shrug. Then Black, as when that whole thing was coming down on All Might, they pretty much threw a shield over him and then like jumped and then smashed the rock apart with a fist. Sorry. It's like, whoa, what was that, young Midoriya? Super strength plus energy shield. Something allowed me to activate that. Like I said, nobody else really knows about how messed up he is in the head, aside from UA students, his mom, now Allison, technically, so, you know. That being said, though, they continue on with this whole thing. As they dominate, and they all try to figure out, like, they don't know what they can do for, like, skills and such. So as he's going around and helping people out, Allison's like using her, well, not Allison, sorry, Carolina's using her grappling hook and such. With that, like, she uses grappling hooks, techniques and such to help people out, guiding people to minor things who injuries, quote unquote, aren't that serious. Delta doing very much the same. They're like, we should teach them, as Sigma says, if we want to be great heroes, we gotta decide between serious and non-serious injuries. So those ones over there, we guide them to the medic tent. And for the serious ones, we take personal care of looking after them and assisting them, doing what we can with the first aid supplies, first aid we have on hand. To go about doing that, as then the whole thing with those guys come in. With them hearing about this, we should hurry up, as it's like, Epsilon, Sigma, I believe it would be best as like, yep, we already got it, buddy, as then they're speeding off, as they left it with a few other heroes. As they rush over there, as everyone's like, spread out, and keep them suppressed. As one guy, the Earthquake dude, tries to be that one dude. Then Todoroki and Air Dude get into their fight. At that same time, Invisibility, pretty much being a predator, or being the predator, he snuck up behind the enemy flanks, as then it's immediately like, wait, where are they? As quickly inducing speed and strength, as then it's like, behind! As like with everyone like going to turn around, it's immediately like made clear that they're already fucked. As in a few grenades and a few little shot, pretty much an entire thing of brute shot, takes out more than half of Gang Orca's actual squad. As with that being said, he jumps down, rushes off, and then just starts taking care of, using the pistols. As it's like, pew, 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 getting everyone stuck. As then Gang Orca comes walking over, he's like, so, you're the... As before that, he immediately brings up two pistols, shooting him several times in the leg, then like once in the arm. As then Gang Orca's like, think that's enough. As he uses sonic waves to like blast off the stuff, and some of his people get free, but Carolina is starting to deal with another part of that, as she was one of the ones like who rushed over there. As in with Todoroki and like Air Dude doing what they can, Carolina and Deku are forcing back the minions, while also going back and forth between Gang Orca and them. As in it's like, Deku, get out of the way! As in he pretty much grabbed Carolina, pulled her close, and then put up a bubble shield, as pretty much everyone else was taken care of. As then the whole inferno ensued around Gang Orca. As in Deku pretty much immediately, well, actually just like got them out of there, with forcing the shield to stay one way, as then he activated the speed quirk, rushing off with her. As then they're safe from that. As that, with that being done, they immediately set up and just like reloaded, you could say, and were prepared to pretty much freeze Gang Orca over. As then he immediately gets done with that inferno, it's like, oh, I'm out. As then he immediately just boom, 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 pew, 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 pew. A bunch of shots are just ringing out, and Gang Orca is just nothing but a giant pink foam. As he's like, this hurts badly. As that was all for now. As then it's like, you all did well, but a few of you still didn't pass. Bakugo, Todoroki, etc. As then, with all of them staying up, and we want to congratulate two people. Izuku Midoriya and Carolina. Carolina. I forgot what did I call her name. No, she just uses Carolina. Izuku and Carolina, as they step forward, you two did very well in this upcoming thing. You both used both your skills, your quirk, and your technology, I guess, would be more equipment. There we go. Equipment to the best of their ability. Well done. And hopefully we see a bright future for you two. As they got their thing, as it's with pretty much Deku staring blankly, like no smile or anything, just staring blank at the camera, with the scars along his neck and a few scars on his face. As he's looking down at it, as it's like Sigma's coming out with burning ambition, as he's like, are you okay? He's like, yes. As with the echo, I'm just really happy. I'm just really ambitious right now, you could say. I've achieved first part of my goal, one of the second parts of my goal. Sorry. Soon, it will only be a matter of time before I'm a hero. It's like, well, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. As then they continue forward from there, with them eventually meeting Muriel. Well, as Allison and such, Allison talked with Deku a few times, saying she wants to continue to, like, spar and train. Saying as she herself, like, hasn't had any practice in ages. She wants to keep her skills sharp, so as Epsilon doesn't refuse, as everyone knows, like, they always seem to be hanging out together. It's like, well, that's his girlfriend he thought was dead, I'm pretty sure, so you gotta give him credit somewhere. He's like, he never dated anyone else besides her, as far as I know. It's like, no. As Bakugo sort of follows them as they were training, and it's pretty intense training, like full force strength training. As in, Allison notes how Deku's pretty close in strength with her. Maybe even, he's actually probably, like, she's close in strength with him. Actually, maybe he's actually stronger than her now, and even faster and such. She's like, how the hell did you get so strong? As he's like, as no one knows they're, like, far off by themselves, as the rest of the AR are, like, out. And they explain what was up with them, saying that, well, to put it lightly, that after everything with you, after a few certain traumatic events, we broke, you could say. As then Epsilon comes out, after losing you, I was devastated. I thought nothing was going to go my way. People try to make fun of you, like a few weeks after, like, you were gone, things had settled. Some people tried to say stuff. I was a mess, tell you the truth. She's like, what did you do? I almost killed a kid, tell you the truth, after he started saying shit. And then, after that, I met All Might, and what he said broke me. Like you, I cared for you, but I knew I could probably make it up to you by not saving you then, by trying to save as many people as I could. After talking with All Might and after hearing what he had to say, I know it's stupid, Allison. You'd probably have punched me in my liver if you were there, but he said I couldn't be a hero, even with everything I pushed myself. He said I couldn't. Everything was being snatched away from me. And like I've been saying to you, I just couldn't take it, and I broke. Or Deku broke, I guess. As like, she's like, wait, but aren't you him? Then like, yes and no. Like, we're parts of him. Like, if you want to compare one of us to pretty much closest thing to Izuku, I'm it. I'm everything that was about him. All his memories, everything. But it took me a while for me to actually take to them, you could say. They weren't always like, I immediately felt love for you, or even immediately had anger towards Bakugo. Anger towards anything, really. But living life with these guys and looking through all those stuff, that's what reignited it, you could say. And that's the truth. And she's like, well, it's good to know that even after you were so mentally unstable, you still have one thing. As it's like, yeah. As in Bakugo comes out, so is that what really happened, you nerd, shitty Deku? As they're like, what, Bakugo, what are you? As all the AI go, like, or the FI go rushing back into Deku's head, as it's like, you, me, right now. As he's like, what? If it's true, let's see if you can beat me. And it's like, I already beat you once at the festival, Bakugo. It's like, no, none of that. Come at me with your strength and speed only. Nothing more. You don't get any of your stupid shields, regeneration, or invisibility. You fight me face to face like you always claimed you would. Hell, you know what? Fine, we'll even do this without quirks if you want. As he's like, Bakugo, I'm not gonna fight. He's like, fucking fight me. As he comes rushing in and using a large explosion. As they were training in the city. Now, the city wasn't like wrecked when Bakugo got there. Now it's a gang wreck, though, as Allison's like, Bakugo, stop, as Epsilon's like, no. This needs to happen. As they go back into his head, as he uses strength and speed to, like, their highest ability. Not to limit breaker, I'll say, scratch that. I'll say to, like, a very decent degree. Enough to hurt Bakugo, but not enough to kill him, you could say. Him rushing in with speed, like, Sigma and Epsilon supporting strength, well, I guess, yeah, supporting him, well, not supporting Omega, but using strength by himself. As they punch Bakugo and then get hit with an explosion, then trips his feet and kicks him right in the stomach. Then grabbing him and throwing him, with Bakugo then blasting back using a double drop kick on his face, breaking his nose. With Bakugo then rushing back again, using another explosion. As then, with this battle just going back and forth, with them clobbering each other. As it's like a 1-2 uppercut, smashing into his face, exploding right under his left side, right in the kneecap, right in the shoulder, all over the place. Bakugo even at one point grabbed the pole and smashed Deku right into the chest with it. As then he immediately grabbed the pole, yanked Bakugo off it, and then just like sort of hit him right in the arm with it. Sort of as Bakugo feels a crack. As then with another blow about to be pushed on Bakugo, All Might's like, what is this? Well, All Might and Aizawa, I'll say. As Aizawa's like, as he cancels their quirk with Deku having the pipe like right above his head, it's like, oof. As he immediately uses the capture tape, as it's like, well, capture scarf, there we go. As it's like, ugh. It's sort of like, what are you two doing? With Deku, Bakugo's like huffing and puffing. And Allison talks about the whole fight. The two of them being dragged along with Allison for the ride. As it's like, Allison, you guys were supposed to be in bed. Got worried when it didn't recognize you. All three of you went to bed. As it's like, as he's like, so. As they continue to talk, who threw the first punch? As it's like, it was Bakugo. And Deku says, I was throwing pretty hard. And it's like, as he knows about the strain and everything that's been put on the three, he still goes on with the whole, I believe it was 2 weeks, or was it a week for Bakugo and like a few days for Deku. As then they go on with their work, getting the stuff after class. Allison's like, everyone's really nice in school. It's like, yep. And now for the whole Muriel and Class 1A fight. After they got all of that done and such. Class 1A versus Muriel Togata. Well, so, Togata. There we go. That name confuses me with Toga. As they continue forward with that quirk, or the thing, what happens is that, they're about to fight, and they have the whole talking and such. As before, they're like about to get ready. As everyone's talking and such, Muriel has that whole thing, has the whole talking with all of them. And she's like, I mostly want to fight him. And as Delta's like calculating, I detect a 50% chance of victory. Muriel Togata's quirk is impressive, but with several strategies devised, we have a significant advantage. As Epsilon's like, alright, D, let's do this. As they're about to rush in. And that's where I'm cutting it off. It's kind of getting late, I think, and anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed this, hope you all continue to enjoy this, and I hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.